questions. And
Gotcha.
I've read so many books about how do you ask questions, how do you uncover things, how do you position things in a way that it's not a, just the simplicity of, is it a yes or no question, or are you
Right.
more of an open-ended question? Those are going to get two
Yes.
very different, you're going to get two different kinds of information from those.
Yes.
And so a lot of it's just uncovering that problem, and it can take, numerous days, weeks, months, potentially, depending
Sure.
on how large of an organization or complex of that problem it is.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson back for another edition of hands down the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. This is the Audacious Living Podcast, and I appreciate you as always for being here as we continue our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. As always, I encourage you to follow us on our social media channels. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the handle The Audacious Pod. Or if you head over to our YouTube channel and type in The Audacious Living Podcast, you can find us there, and you can subscribe to us by tapping that bell down below. Ding, 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 and you're connected to all great things audacious related. Now, I've got Tyler Pigot joining me on this edition of the podcast, and Tyler is a digital marketing expert who's passionate about helping businesses grow and develop. He spends a lot of time in helping them to see the things that are coming around the corner that they may not identify right away, see new challenges, and solve their pressing problems by providing his unique outside perspective. Tyler touches on how resiliency is the key to success, why it's important to have a clear vision in business and in life, and how competing in Ironman competition helped him learn how to build a business. We really had a great chat, and I think it's something that you'll all enjoy. So without any further ado, here is my conversation with Tyler Pigot. Enjoy. Hey, Tyler, thank you for joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. I got to tell you, I'm always appreciative individuals come and hang out like this, and I thank you for taking the time like this.
I love it. I'm just going to try to match your energy the whole time. This is going to be fun. It might explode at some point, but it's going to be fun. Let's do it.
That's okay. Join me for the ride, and we'll go where it goes, right? So there we go.
Sounds good.
But yeah, no, again, I just super appreciate you taking the time. We always, what I love about this podcast is we have the opportunity just to engage in really powerful conversation with interesting people doing interesting work. And you could probably relate a little bit as a digital marketer because you probably come across a wide cross-section of individuals doing interesting work as well. And certainly we'll talk about the innovation components of your work and the problem-solving aspects and the creativity. But maybe as a starting point, if you can sort of give our listeners an understanding of sort of the work you do and who you're targeting.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been a journey to get there, but primarily
it usually is.
Yeah, exactly. Primarily, we're working with B2B tech companies, so business to business tech companies, and that's like a massive swath of clients. So a lot in like the med tech, health tech space. So think of like platforms that you use in that healthcare kind of environment. And then like ed tech space being like kind of furthering your training, things that, courses, professionals that are learning like vocationally outside of maybe a standard university kind of college setting. So those are kind of like the generalization of who we work with. Of course, we've got outliers. Business is broken up. I'll just call it kind of in two sides. One side is kind of the foundational elements. So think brand strategy, brand messaging. Okay. How do you talk about yourself? And then rolling that out into your kind of public facing materials. So marketing, sales. And then the other side of the business is how do you then drive awareness, demand gen, amplification of that message to bring in, individuals and
Right.
your kind of ideal clients. So that's it in a nutshell. Of course, there's a million different things. I don't really like talking about tactics that much because it's a different thing for every business.
Right.
But yeah, I've been doing it for about 8 years on my own, building an agency, and about 15 on the corporate side before that.
Gotcha.
So lots of adventures for sure.
And to land on the sector that you're in, that you said that was a bit of a journey to figure that out too.
Yeah.
How winding was that road?
Well, so I think technology is cool.
Yeah.
There's always pros and cons to things, and there's always changes and shifts and things you learn. But I've always kind of been one of those try things, try to break things, see how far you can kind of take it. All quick side story. I actually paid my way through college as a DJ. And so DJs, obviously, like kind of pre-iTunes, pre-Spotify, pre-digital music, you'd have to go to, your local albums or, record store. Exactly. You dig through all the CDs and everything. I remember just like salivating for the day that you could buy a single song. Cause, I do a party or a wedding or whatever. And they go, hey, can you have this song? And you're just, thumbing through so many, in my day, it was CDs that we were kind of playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're buying, 2 albums just to get like 2 different songs kind of thing. And then you don't care about the rest of the songs or whatever.
Right.
So anyway, I've just always been a technology kind of nerd, a little bit of a junkie on that. And so I just say that to kind of say, like, setting it into, I feel like if you're building a company or you're pushing in a certain direction, you've got to do something that you're somewhat passionate about.
Yeah.
If I was targeting, and this is no knock towards like accountants or dentists or any of those kind of things, I'm not super passionate about that. I require that, and I'm really thankful for the accountant that I work with, and really thankful for the dentist that I go to. But if I was only targeting that industry, I probably wouldn't be very passionate about it.
Right.
And so I should say, like, mixing that into kind of the last number of years, getting to where we are has been a big piece of it. And then clients come in the door, and we target certain clients and those types of things, and you kind of build a portfolio of clients you work with. And over the last 5 years, that's just kind of been the majority of them are in that space. So
gotcha totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I going back to your DJ career, I really remember going into the record shop every Wednesday, and you're right, when you could buy one song, that was a big deal. So I hear you loud and clear. And it's changed. Like Spotify has gotten this new AI intelligence where there's actually your own personal DJ, right?
Yeah,
based on all your preferences. And so it's just crazy with technology, but technology is cool. That's the main point in all this.
Yeah. No, it totally is. I mean, there's people obviously that kind of think more along the pessimistic side or the negative side of it. And that exists, it changes jobs and things don't exist. But I'd also argue that the majority of us, we're talking on a podcast right now, that didn't exist 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so there's benefits to those things too. And that's not what we're here to talk about. But I've been passionate about technology for a long time. I think it's cool.
Yes. We digress. So when clients are coming to you, let's go to problem solving, and that's one of my faves. I love talking about problem solving and approaches to problem solving. So clients come to your door. Hey, Tyler, I've got issue A. What the heck do I do? What does that process look like of figuring out how you manage or deal with this problem?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's an interesting business or an interesting industry to be in because you've got kind of 2 different sides of it. You've got maybe say larger business or medium to larger business, and they have dissected their marketing and dissected their sales, dissected their lead gen to the spot where they know, hey, I need this specific tactic or campaign or channel developed, or we've got a problem with this channel. So they call it paid media or content or a website or something like that. But then you've also got the other side that really just says, hey, I need to grow my business. Like, I'm trying to make, whatever, $1 million more this year, $1 million more this quarter, a month. And that's, those are 2 different types of problems, because one is we've got to uncover what the actual challenge is. And the other one is they've got it very narrowed down, and then you can dive in pretty quickly and kind of start to identify what that challenge might be. And so I would say a lot of it has to do with just being really good at asking questions.
Gotcha.
And that is
really simple approach, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny though, because not everyone's great at asking questions. And
Got you.
I've read so many books about how do you ask questions, how do you uncover things, how do you position things in a way that it's not a, just the simplicity of, is it a yes or no question, or are you
Right.
more of an open-ended question? Those are going to get two
Yes.
very different, you're going to get two different kinds of information from those.
Yes.
And so a lot of it's just uncovering that problem, and it can take, numerous days, weeks, months, potentially, depending
Sure.
on how large of an organization or complex of that problem it is.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of, I'll just call them audits for sake of
Okay.
easy terminology,
Yep.
to where it's like a deep dive into essentially what is going on now, where do you want to go, and then how do you kind of connect those dots and build a little bit of a blueprint or a roadmap, if you will, to get to that end goal. So yeah, we ask a lot of questions around that, and then it's like uncovering kind of some recommendations, some strategy that would help get the client to where they want to go, and it can be a huge variation.
Right.
So anyway,
I suspect, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I suspect that a lot of times when individuals come with these problems that are looking for the solutions, they've already got the solutions. It's just a matter of you pointing them in that right direction. Am I way off here, or is it that you've got this magic wand and you're bing and here we go, your problem solved?
man, I'd love to say, oh, I've got the silver bullet, I've got it, everyone. But that's not true, and I don't think there is one. And so I would say, honestly, I think you're pretty spot on. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but call it kind of 70 to 80% is all in the client's head.
Right.
Especially when it comes to like positioning the problem that they solve, their unique skill set. You're really just asking them questions and pulling it out of them. And then you're asking them lots of questions about, the core audience and where they live, and like just kind of uncovering that, so that you can then start to target those audiences again,
Right.
whether that's with content, whether that's with paid media, whether that's with outreach, events they might go to, whatever. And so a lot of it's kind of like marrying those two, of like, we've got some experience on our side of how do you amplify your message or get yourself out there, your message out there. And then they're bringing in, the message, which is obviously the most important part. And so it's more of I would call it almost like a guide. We're have that guide relationship, where they're the hero of that story, and we're trying to guide them to what their success ideally is in their minds too. So
I think much can be said about having that outside perspective, right? Like, when you're in the midst of something and you're knee deep in your problem, right? And it's all you can see. It's like you can't see the forest for the trees. Yeah. Someone coming from the outside to be able to say, hey, have you thought of this? Or by the way, if you kind of push away those bushes over there, there's something that you might have thought of. That's kind of sort of how I'm seeing this exercise go. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it totally is. I think, just take this example, like we're talking on a podcast right now. Yep. If you've got all this content, you created the podcast, but what if you just hit publish and it went to just, iTunes or just Apple Podcast? Right. Well, maybe someone might find it, I suppose, if they're searching specifically for it, but probably you're doing a lot of word of mouth type advertising for them to be able to do that. And so then just think about, well, how would you then amplify that? And we talked earlier before we started recording, it's on YouTube, we're posting on social, it's across lots of different channels. There's, kind of keywords or message that you're talking to, or maybe a guest is going to help publish it. And so just think about all the different tactics around that. Reality is you did all the hard work and you created the content or the deliverable, if you will. And now we're just going, hey, how do we get more eyeballs onto that of the right fit clients that you're wanting to work with? So it's not a like rocket science, but so much of it is you're so knee deep in your business or your operations of your business or those challenges that you're not really coming up for air and going, oh, how do I do this? Or how do I, present myself in front of those audiences? And so oftentimes when we're talking to clients, I grew up in the era of Kool-Aid. So if you remember the Kool-Aid brand,
walls.
Exactly. But I oftentimes just say, hey, you're drinking your own Kool-Aid too much. Because oftentimes you're like, when we talk, messaging is a great example. When we talk about clients about their messaging and we start to we run a couple different frameworks and to be able to pull that out of them. And it's so simple, and they oftentimes want to go, but there's all this, this and this and all these buzzwords, and you're kind of going, yeah, but does your client understand that, or are you just so knee deep in your own challenge and your own business that's actually what you think, when all you're trying to do is just get them hooked. You're trying to literally just get them to scroll on your page or read your content or pick up the phone or whatever that is. So a lot of it is just really simplistic, but we always, as humans, try to make things more complex. I mean, we're always, thinking about it.
We're good at that.
Ways. Totally. Yeah, exactly. We're just in our own way. And I am too. It's super funny. We were actually doing this rebrand project of our agency right now, and kind of more of a finer tune with our message. And it's so funny because I'm fully operating like many of our clients do, where but there's all this and there's all that, and you're kind of going, oh my word, I'm so bad. I'm just as bad, like, and it's just the same thing. So it's pretty comical.
It's like, but
yep, totally.
I use the phrase I absolutely love, coming up for air, right? Like you're so knee deep into something and you're coming, so on the podcast example, I was literally just talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying, hey, you could take your podcast and translate in other languages and put it in other countries. I'm going, never even thought of it. Because again, I'm in content creation mode. I'm not thinking about these other aspects of it. But again, it's that outside perspective saying there's more, right? And that, I think that's always important to have. And whether it be, a business like yourself or, in individuals' lives, they bring in a coach, right? Sure. That just does an outside perspective, that doesn't see things, that's not inundated the same way maybe we are because we're in it, and just can have that perspective. That's really where I'm going with. I think it's really important to have that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I would kind of almost say it's important for everybody's lives. I think that's important to surround yourself with different types of people, maybe it's a partner, a mate, a spouse, a wife, a husband. Sure. And that's really important because you're going to have, that next level of perspective. And I laughed about, to bring it full circle back to accountants, I laughed about that, but sometimes that's even helpful because they're looking at your financials differently than maybe you would internally. Right. It's helpful to have doctors. It's helpful that, like so many different types of people around. I'd even call it like people in your community, whether that's like a faith-based community, but maybe a church kind of thing. Maybe it's a rec league, like a sports thing. There's tons of different types of communities, but having different people in your life, and I'm making this totally personal, but it's the same thing, business, and it's the same thing just to have more people kind of, allowing them, like I say, to speak into your life. Yes. Oftentimes people have a really hard time with that, because I want to be presented as if I'm perfect. I got it all figured out, all these things, when reality is none of us do. And it's totally just a joke. And I'm not pointing fun because people do take that seriously. And that's a challenge, that people do struggle with. And I do too. And I'm sure you do. But I think it's as you bring more people in to give more of a perspective from an outside standpoint, they are the ones that are just kind of observing, where you're the one living in it. And there's so much drama and roller coasters and all the analogies when you're living in your own life. And so sometimes it's helpful just to have people just give you that outside perspective. That's what we do in the marketing space. We're giving you outside perspective. We do bring expertise of years and years and years of experience. And so we can kind of see some of those things and work on some of those tactics. But at the same standpoint, we're just able to kind of look from an outsider's view of, hey, what's your business like? And it's pretty funny. We have a strategist that works with us, or that's on our team, and he runs different workshops and stuff. And it's really interesting to watch his process when we go in to work with a new client, because reality is, and I do this too, I really try pretty hard to not know anything about the business. Because it gives me a better ability to like ask questions that they're going to be really kind of basic level questions. But if I don't know the answers to them based on looking at maybe say their homepage or some, public facing piece of material, well, maybe I should know exactly what they do and the problem they solve. And if I don't, by just viewing their homepage, well, I'm the same customer as everybody else looking at it. That's right. And so it gives you that unique perspective. Anyway, wrapping that up with helping to have outside perspective, I think super important in all areas of life. So much
can be said about the power of perspective. And that's just, I think that's a nice bow to put all this, because it is really, really important. In the space of problem solving, I would imagine that the I word, innovation, is important, because sometimes they use that expression, think outside of the box. And again, we just talk about perspective. Now you're thinking about different ways of thinking. How I guess I'm wondering the conversation with clients that you have, and because you can't just make someone think innovative. Innovation is one of those things that it's either there with you or it's not. And you can learn how to be it, but you can't just suddenly be it. And so when you're introducing that to clients, kind of what's that dialogue? Are they in awe, or what's that like? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's interesting because I've just said it depends on the client.
Right. True. Fair enough.
They're all over the place. I oftentimes kind of use this phrase that sometimes it pisses people off, but I'll say it anyway. It's more of like, hey, we can really only get success. We can only really help clients be successful if they'll let us help them. And if people dig in their heels so hard to different things and aren't open to new ideas, there's a significant chance that we're not going to be able to help them. If they've, hey, we've tried this tactic 15 times. Can you help us with it? Well, maybe the tactic's wrong. Maybe you need a different tactic. Like,
right.
Have we thought about, the repeat
But I really
process?
like this one. I really like this one,
Totally,
though.
yeah. So I'm not saying that every client's like that. I just would say the clients that we've had for years are the ones that are open to new ideas. And it's more so I would almost like back up into that innovation of, again, we don't have the silver bullet. I don't believe anyone does, but we have a collaborative approach to building that partnership with clients. And so again, they're going to come with ideas and they have ideas internally, and we're going to come with ideas and have ideas, and we can help them implement or execute and bring kind of a strategic kind of point of view to it. And so it's, you got to be open-minded to that. And so there are some clients that it just takes reps. You have to build that trust of that you're willing to go the extra mile to help them win. And other clients have been pretty calloused, maybe by outside vendors or by the marketing industry or whatever it is that happened to them. And so it takes longer to kind of move them through kind of that process of innovation, if you will. And I think one of the things that's been helpful for us is we've changed our engagements with clients to be more to build trust faster. And so we really are in that business of building trust, because that is what it takes in this marketing space, because it changes so fast. And so, we try to do like shorter engagements towards the beginning so that they can, hey, we want to get you a win in the first 30 days. Like we want to help you so that, one is we want you to win. Like that's just flat out part of our values. We want that to happen. But two is we do want to build a longer partnership. And so I believe you have to have those wins. It's kind of like the, dating analogies are funny, but if you are, hey, I'm going to meet you at this, whatever coffee shop, we're going out to dinner and I'm going to be there at 5 or 7 or whatever the time is, but you show up a half hour late every time, you're not exactly building that kind of trust muscle in the person that you're, maybe pursuing in that dating relationship. And so you kind of do have to follow through with what you said. And so that those engagements and kind of in that early stage is, I think, really important, where you're, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we do it and we deliver it and we're thorough on it. And we, I hate to say the word impress, but we're also trying to impress you. We're trying to win you over in that process. And so anyway, all that's connected to innovation, all that's connected to kind of that mindset of innovation, and almost like an on-ramp to the freeway kind of thing. You have to get people there, and some people will go faster, some people will take a little bit longer. And a lot of it depends on kind of their individual mindset. So yeah, I don't know if that explains it or kind of gets into that kind of category.
It does, because I think, because again, innovation, for some, innovation is one of those things that you get right away, or you need to some convincing, if you want. I'm not sure if that's the best word either. But so when you talk about getting building that trust and building those wins and getting people wins, I think that helps turn that mindset if you're not already there. And again, innovation is one of those things where you're either you got it or you don't, and not that you can't get it, but you either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, how do you get it and how do you get there? And that's kind of where I wanted to go with that, because I could see where people just totally push back. I mean, like you look at when new technology is introduced, people push back. They don't like it. They don't see it as, hey, this is innovative. Some do, right? But someone push back on, no, I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm fine with my typewriter. I don't need to change, right?
Totally. Yeah, it's totally true. I think one of the things that we've actually started to do in our, kind of fit process, if you will, or qualification process in our kind of sales experience when you jump into that as a new client, is we really do try to look at the business as a whole. Because oftentimes the growth is that element where they're willing to have innovation and change. Because most people, if they're just going to say, I'm going to stay the same and maintain, kind of over time, they're not really changing and they're not growing. And that's a choice, and people do that. And there's no negative of that I mean, I guess there probably is, but I think looking at holistically at the business or at a person's life, if you've moved into the first house you bought and you live there for 35 years, you've never changed your job and you still drive the same car after 30 years, like that's great. Like high five, like that's incredible. You're not a bad person, but
Yep.
probably you're not really super interested in innovation. You're not really super interested in growing. You're not really super interested in change. And so that probably is a little bit of like a yellow flag for clients if you are evaluating clients, like looking at their outside life or their business growth or so those types of things, because you're probably going to feel like you're hitting your head against a wall if you're that consultant or advisor or whatnot that are coming in there, because they've kind of shown you their cards, if you will. They've shown you, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit resistant to change. And I'm showing that by the rest of the things that are going on in my life. So anyway, kind of like, I guess, sidebar to innovation, but we've tried to really figure out how to like almost reverse engineer and go, how do we find those right fit clients? What are some of those questions we can ask to make sure that, they would be receptive to ideas, they'd be receptive to change, receptive to innovation. So anybody that's listening, that's been something we've tried to learn along the way, is how do you kind of identify that early on versus, later on when they're so frustrated because they haven't wanted to change and you've been pitching them ideas and trying to get them there and they don't want to. That can be a painful process if you're coming in as an advisor or consultant kind of role.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Again, coming from the outside is a lot easier, right?
Yeah, totally.
For those that, again, similar to the innovation conversation, marketing your business, right? As an entrepreneur, you've got, obviously you're going to want, you don't want to get your brand out there, and you're going to want to let people know about your brand, talking about yourself and blowing your own, tooting your own horn, so to speak, are all things that you've got to be effectively able to do. Are you finding it's still a challenge for businesses to do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, businesses are all over the place. I would say we spend a lot of time in that business to business category. So the businesses that are selling their product or service to other businesses. And I think, if you look at the change in how people are influenced to purchase individually, so go to like business to consumer, so B2C, there's been a pretty significant shift over the last couple of years. And I think we're still going in that direction of where people trust people and they're more than they trust a brand. First, at least they'll grow to trust that brand, but they trust people. So think about like that influencer category and people that are on social media and all those kind of things. And I'm not here to present an opinion about that. It's just more so, it's just kind of fact at this point, and this is how it works. And so I would say most of the things you notice on the consumer side often trickle into the business to business side. And so I think that as we continue, more and more people are going to, again, buy from people. And that's never changed. I think people always buy from people, at least in the business to business space. But I think it gets amplified when you think about, a personal relationship, and then, oh, sure, yeah, I trust this person. And then I'll listen to what they sell. And maybe that's the problem that I need to have fixed. And so I just say all that, meaning, I think you have to have you've got to have a really clear position. So what is it that you solve, and what is it that you work on, and how do you serve clients? Whether that's with a product or with a service, or there's lots of different kind of variables to that. But then you've got to also then, like you said, kind of toot your own horn. And so what does that look like? And I would say there's more and more kind of direction towards being very specific to connecting. Well, where are the people at that you want that are going to buy your product? And so, don't send, we've worked with construction companies in the past. This was a couple of years ago. And they were sending so much email. And I take that back. It was a construction estimation software company, and they were, trying to get contractors and people that run contracting businesses on their platform, and they were sending emails, which is, and I started to kind of ask questions about it, and they kind of just started to say, well, yeah, it's not super effective, and then pretty quickly you go to, well, are people that are running construction businesses on the computer all the time? Like, are they looking at their email?
Right.
I mean, maybe obviously you've got a mobile device probably, and you're looking at maybe some of those emails. But so we started to shift towards promoting towards text messaging and following via text messaging and SMS. And instantly it started to change because of that. Like, it was like, oh, but they have a phone in their pocket and they'll see those things because most people kind of see that. And you're not trying to be obnoxious in that texting process and all those types of things. But it's just an example of go to where your customers are and that channel that they're at. And so, identifying that is really important. Having that kind of vision is really important. Having that clear kind of product is really important. And then being able to kind of, fine tune where those customers are. And then just remembering people buy from people. And so you have to humanize your brand as much as possible, and make it so that, people can identify with that. So I don't know if I listed a bunch of different things. I'm not sure if all that makes sense, but
they're all relevant. And actually where I was going to naturally take it is the significance of having that sort of clear vision as an organization. So, all those other elements that you just listed,
sure.
they're easy to follow, right? Like it all makes sense. And so it's all connected, I would say, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think you have to have a vision of, as an individual business, where you want to go, where you want to take it,
right.
where do you want to grow, what areas do you want to grow in, what products do you want to grow in, what's the end result that you're really hoping for. And that's sometimes a really overwhelming question for some businesses and for some business leaders. Right. I think if you can kind of boil it down to, hey, where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? And start to think about that. What does that look like? Is that a people component? Is there a product component? Is there a financial component? The answer is probably yes to all those. And really to kind of start to spell that out so that you can start kind of shifting in that direction. I think that's one of the things we ask a lot of in the marketing process is really, where are you trying to go? Because some clients, if you can't just recommend this like cookie cutter approach to marketing and this, oh, come to us and we'll say you should spend X amount on this paid platform and you should just run all these ads. Well, that might not be one, that might not be where their customers are, but two, that might not necessarily support their entire vision, because maybe they're really just trying to do upsells and move people into a certain product. And paid media is not going to get them into that, but it gets them into this other product that's, maybe a lower tier type of thing. And then they kind of work their way up. Well, that's a different strategy of how to get there. And it's also a different vision with what you're trying to do if you're trying to move people into a higher performing product kind of thing. Right. And so I think having that vision is really important. Spending that time. Oftentimes I use the phrase, and it's not mine. I don't remember where I got it at this point. So I suppose I could say it's mine, but
I believe you.
Yeah, but direction is more important than speed. And so really that direction element is going to be the vision, where you wanting to go, really fine tuning that. And then the speed part's going to be after you've got your direction, you're going to go in the right direction towards where you're trying to, what you're trying to accomplish. So spending that time is super important on vision. There's a million different books and frameworks and all sorts for vision. But I would say that's one of the things that I've seen as a gap in some businesses is they don't have much of a vision. They just basically say more.
Right.
And you're kind of going, more of what? More of how? More when? More, what does more mean? And I think that's, culturally, we all live in that culture of more. You buy one thing and all of a sudden that's cool for 3 days. And then the next fourth day, you're going, I want the next thing. And you're kind of going, really? And that's something I think everybody fights in some way, shape, or form. But I think it also trickles into business where more is not a vision. More of what you have now is not necessarily a vision. And I think having more of a specific, how does it impact your business? How does it impact you personally? And again, I'm talking about business primarily, but having that vision, struggling and wrestling with coming up with that vision is sometimes required to build something cool or to obtain something that you're proud of or that you're excited about. That wrestle is really important. So we could talk about vision for the next couple hours, I'm sure.
Totally. But it's that important, really. How it truly is. And so I get that. Something I got to ask you, word on the street is that, you run Ironman competitions and it's, but not only have been in racing Ironmans, but it's also taught you a little bit about the building of a business. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I have run some Ironmans in the past. I'm not currently necessarily training for that. I think one of the things that's funny about an Ironman is you kind of are training somewhere between 20 and 40 hours a week. So it's a full on second job. And I actually really still love to swim, still love to run, still love to bike. So Ironmans, it's a triathlon for those of you. Full Ironman is a 2.5 mile swim, 112 miles on the bike, and then a full marathon, 26 miles after that. I probably just lost half the listeners at that point. This guy, I don't believe anything he said. He is ridiculous. But
show us the proof.
Totally. Okay, so here's one of the things. So my vision of my life, I am very motivated by challenge. Yes. And if I'm not being challenged by something, then I'm kind of bored. And it's, I'm not trying to toot my own horn at all. It's just more so that's just how I'm wired. And I've tried to fight it for years and those types of things. It's not worked. And so everybody, I believe, should be challenged in some shape or form. And for me, if I know how to do something, it's not much of a challenge.
Gotcha.
Because I'm pretty disciplined. I'm pretty kind of routine. I follow routine. Like I love to kind of adventure as well, but for the most part, like most 99% of my life is a routine. And so if I know how to accomplish something, call it like within the next 6 months, that's not much of a challenge for me, because really I'm just signing up for the discipline, and I've already proved that that's happened. So anyway, jumping into Ironmans was super fun for me. And it's been a little while. It's probably, I think the last one I did was in 2015. I've done a bunch of racing events and all those types of things. I had a pretty gnarly injury in 2019. And that's it for a different moment. So it took me quite a while to get back into being able to run a little bit and ride and such. But anyway, all that being said, running an Ironman is pretty fascinating because for the most part, you get to the end and you're all pumped and you realize actually the value and the fun was in the training. Because it takes 6 months, it takes 6 months of training kind of part-time as a part-time or full-time job to get to the spot where you can actually finish an Ironman in the time frame, in the time. And for those listening, I believe most Ironmans cutoffs like 16 or 17 hours. And so, people win it at 8 hours or ish, kind of thing. And so it's a lot of, to build up that endurance and that cardio and the ability to do that. But the things that I feel like that were interesting to learn in that process were, one is paying attention to your body. And so you really do kind of like, if you're in that, you're waking up, and most days I'm doing a 2 a day. And so it's, you're in the pool by 4 a.m. and then you're, transitioning to maybe some weights or a lot of stretching. And then you work for the morning, and then maybe you're going for a run at lunch or what, like you're working this routine in your life. And again, probably people are like, this sounds horrible, I'm never doing one of these. That's totally fine. I'm not here to advocate for them. But I think one of the things you start learning is that day in and day out, there are some days when you're pumped, you're excited to do it, it feels great. There are other days where it just literally feels like you're getting drugged behind a car kind of thing. Like it just feels horrible. And so you start to pay attention and you start to try to evaluate, okay, was it like lack of sleep? Was it overtraining? Was it nutrition? Was it, all the different variables that can go into it. And so one of the things that taught me about business really is, I think in this day and age, there's so much anxiety, so much worry, so much fear, and so much change, all these things that kind of cause that. And I think it's really important to pay attention to, what caused that. Like if you're pretty anxious and really kind of wound up at the end of the day, okay, cool. Like dissect your day a little bit. What caused that? Was it a certain meeting? Was it a certain way you were treated? Was it a vendor thing? Was it a client? Like just kind of picking it apart. And I'm not saying dissect it entirely, but it's helpful to know what causes some of those emotions. And I think anxiety, I think depression, I think worry is a real thing. And I think it's a challenge and it's a problem. And I'm not a licensed psychologist. So I'm just going to say my opinions of it and how I've worked through it. But so I feel like I've learned that in the Ironman training for Ironmans is really, how do you analyze how things make you feel, if for lack of a better term. And then that's super important then as you're in the business world, super important as you're managing teams, to how to translate that into helping others uncover maybe something, and really observing like how they function in an overwhelmed situation or a crazy scenario in their job. And so then you can help encourage them, help lead them out of that, help lead them through that as their supervisors. So I could go on with tons of different examples, but that's kind of like that key one, probably when you're leading a team, or when you're building a business, or when you're functioning in a team professionally, spending time understanding, how do certain things impact you, the negatives, so that anxiety, that worry, that some of those things that come out of it, as well as the positives, what made you enjoy that day or enjoy that week or that month or that project you got to work on, and paying attention to that, because that might mean a career change at some point where you're focused more heavily on that tactic or that project or that kind of work. That if you're not paying attention, you really wouldn't know, and you're just going through the rote routine. And we're here to live a better life, tomorrow or next month or next year. Hence why all the different topics on this podcast. And I'd encourage everyone to like scroll through and find the different cool people that are on this. I hope I get to be one of those. But like, that's
my friend. You are, trust me. I'm saying the record.
No, I love it. So I would say that's first and foremost, probably the biggest example I've learned from Ironmans. There's discipline, there's perseverance, there's, the people that all of us see as successful at this point are probably not the people that they got, the third generation money passed down to them. They're probably the people that started from nothing, that showed up every day, got crushed a lot, stood up the next day, and that's that determination and perseverance. And Ironmans are that. I mean, it is definitely, you're grinding through that event and the training. And so I think that's another piece that you can kind of pick up from it, which is just, I guess, a mindset as much as anything else. So
I love the analogy of the Ironman because of the fact and how it relates to business, because all the things you meant, the perseverance, the endurance, the training. For me, the piece that probably stands out the most is we don't often see what happens behind the scenes. So you talked about 6 months of training, right? We don't see that. We don't understand that. We just know on race day, right? You're off. But there's a whole whack of stuff that's happened. There's been maybe some successes, some failures, some mishaps, of all sorts of things that have taken place, that's fed into your experience to bring you to that particular point where you're ready to start this race. And so I think that's really powerful in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty interesting. Like, I remember talking to, so I had a coach in one of the kind of seasons that I did this, and I had crashed on my bike and during a training ride. And so I had all this road rash. So road rash is kind of like scrapes, cuts, bruises, all these things. And if you had a lot of that, so say it was all up and down like my side and kind of like upper thigh, and like it was all over the place. And so if you've had those types of, injuries or road rash, or like rubs, or whatever you want to call them, injuries, bruises, oftentimes like the next day it's really stiff and it's like it hurts and it's just hard to move. And I just remember my coach saying, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, you can move, right? Nothing's broken. There's nothing torn, and I'm kind of going, yeah, okay. And he goes, cool, go for a run. And you're going, that run was so painful because it just hurt, And so, but nobody knows that. Nobody knows that I fought through that. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows about torn muscles. Nobody knows about all the different things that kind of get you to that Ironman. And I believe business life is really similar. Is when you really sit down with people, I think pretty much everybody that's accomplished something's got some crazy cool story. It's a rarity to go, oh my gosh, this was the easiest thing for them, and they literally showed up one day and they just got the trophy. Like, that's so cool.
Right.
Another example, just a plug for a show, I guess. I love playing golf. I think golf's super fun. I think it's fascinating. And there's a show on Netflix right now. I think it's called Full Swing, if I remember right. Okay. It's about golfers. So it's like their first of the season or first season or whatever it is. And it's profiling golfers. And it was really interesting because this speaks to this point where, it follows the journey of a couple different players as they have success winning some of those major tournaments. And it's unreal to watch like their battle to get there. And it's like the family aspect of it, the training aspect of it, the mental grind of it, the exhaustion of it, the travel of it. I mean, all the different things. All we saw was they showed up on on that Sunday, and they held the trophy, and they won however many millions of dollars, right? But it's fascinating to see that grind. So anyway, I think everybody has those types of stories, whether they're super in the public eye or it's nobody even knows about it. I think everybody's got them. So anyway, tons of lessons to pull from that.
Everyone in every business has a great story behind them to get them to the point that they're at. Tyler, this has been awesome chat, man. I've so appreciated this and appreciate the fact that you lent your insight and wisdom. So I do want to thank you for that. I also need to thank you for the special offer that you're giving listeners to have their website checked out by you, and you can give some feedback. And so I understand that you're making that available. We'll make sure that the link is available. So our listeners, they got a business or even just a personal website. Hey, I got my website. I might throw it at you and tell you what you think. I mean, we'll throw that out there and let listeners take advantage of that. So thank you for that very generous offer.
Absolutely. It's super simple. It should be a link in there. Fill out a quick form. We're not going to bombard you with sales. Don't worry. Usually what happens is that gets submitted at round robins and a couple people on our team. We do a quick video, kind of like, a Zoom call or whatever, record it. It's usually about 5 minutes. We just throw a bunch of ideas at you, things that might help, things that we've observed. I think we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of websites. And so, and seen them succeed, and seen some of them fail and learn from them. And so super easy. It's literally you're not buying anything. It's not a huge, crazy commitment. I'm just saying that over and over again, because then people sometimes are nervous that their phone's just going to ring and they're tired. They don't want to give out their email. So anyway, excited to do it. Excited to meet new people through it too. So.
Awesome. Well, it's an incredible offer. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on the work that you're doing. I think it's a great. The work that you're doing in assisting businesses get to that better place and get to that better level of success, which they're all after, right? That's what they all want. And so to be that vehicle, to be that coach, to be that outside perspective to help them get there is phenomenal. So thank you, Tyler, and appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is fun. I love the organic conversation and the laughter and the it's fun. I've enjoyed your energy and your questions. And I again, back to encouraging people to listen through a lot of them. I've kind of picked apart different episodes, and it's been really encouraging. So thanks for all the work you're doing putting this together too.
Much appreciated, Tyler. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
All right. See ya.
Back we are here on the podcast. I got to send out my thanks and appreciation to Tyler for hanging out with us here and really dropping some awesome knowledge in the world of digital marketing. And really, so much of the points that he made around business growth and development made so much sense. And if you're listening, I encourage you to check him out and follow him, because Tyler's doing some really good stuff. When I think back to my conversation with Tyler, I really appreciated so much of what he had to say. But there's just one thing that I would take from our chat. It would have to be this. Having outside perspectives is crucial for personal and professional growth. It's really super easy to get stuck in our own ways of thinking, which is where, and that's where having the perspective of someone else can help us, as it allows us to see things in a different light. When you work with people who have different experiences, expertise, and backgrounds, you can get new insights and ideas that you may not have thought of on your own. Being exposed to people who have different perspectives and also who aren't afraid to give you honest feedback is huge, because they can see your blind spots and the difficult things that we oftentimes can't see for ourselves. Bringing others in provides an opportunity to expand our network and create new connections, or even it gives you a chance to break out of that comfort zone that we sometimes get caught in and try new things. Seeking outside perspectives is essential for personal and professional growth, and it's not a bad thing at all. So don't be afraid to seek out new perspectives and embrace all the benefits that come with them. We've come to the end of another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast, and I want to send my thanks and appreciation to amazing listeners, all those lovers of Audaciousness, for your tremendous ongoing support. It is so much appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. You folks are the ones making this platform grow each and every week, so again, I extend my love, appreciation, and thanks. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.